they come into the ring with a strategy and you have to eliminate their strategy. So that's why in sparring you work on just defending, moving out of range, going through the rounds and doing it.
Defend the straight shots, that's it, good. Feet now, good. Little feint again, that's it. Just keep it simple, don't give nothing away, that's it, nice.
Whether it's former fighters or whoever, just they don't give Jake any chance at all. I'm not saying he doesn't have any chance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, everybody in the know-how as far as the boxing world, they're like, Jake has zero chance to win this fight.
Being brought in to work with Jake, but I don't know that Ben Davison would do that. I don't know if just as AJ leaves to go train with, and this is why I say Ben Davison, AJ has left to go and train with Usyk's team. Left Ben Davison, go train with Usyk's team. I don't know, because their relationship is so good, I don't know that Ben Davison would just turncoat on AJ and help somebody prepare for him.
Anthony Joshua's training camp is now under the spotlight as his bout with Jake Paul approaches, and the clips show just how seriously he's taking his preparations. Every exercise highlights the level of conditioning and mobility he plans to bring into the ring. With each drill executed with focus and intensity, the most notable update from inside the camp isn't a new workout routine, it's the team surrounding him. Joshua has moved on from his Ben Davison days and is now working alongside members of Alexander Usyk's crew, training in a quieter setting outside London. This marks a major shift in approach. AJ is adopting strategies from the fighter who defeated him twice, aiming to refine his technique and address weaknesses rather than just rely on raw power. Recent coverage has confirmed this change, though it hasn't come without criticism. Voices in the British boxing world, including Dillian Whyte, have questioned whether switching camps is the right move and suggested Joshua might be uncertain in his direction. This tension, however, could serve as fuel, both motivating the camp and driving media attention.
And it's true that AJ has gone out to train with Alexander Usyk's team. So I don't know if that means Alexander Usyk per se, but Alexander Usyk's team. I have no issues with that at all. Some people might sort of throw out the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them. AJ's always kind of done that. A lot of fighters do this as well, by the way, but when it's AJ, it's big nose. A lot of fighters go to camps and spend a couple of weeks in a camp. Like, most fighters do it, in fact. They'll go to a camp, spend a couple of weeks, Obviously, it looks a bit different because it's AJ Usyk, but most fighters do that. I mean, there's no problem sort of soaking up knowledge and seeing how people do things. Like, why would you not want to see how one of the greatest heavyweights in the world trains and what he's doing over there? You'd want to see it. I don't know if it means AJ's going to jump ship and be trained by Alexander Usyk's team. I doubt that very much. But I don't see...
Inside Joshua's camp, sources report a highly selective sparring setup. Southpaw fighters are brought in to replicate Paul's tricky angles, while quicker, lighter heavyweights help mimic Jake's speed and movement. Sparring sessions focus on short, high-intensity rounds to train the body for rapid in-and-out exchanges and quick recovery between bursts. Coaches rotate partners regularly, exposing Joshua to a variety of styles: awkward, fast, and clinch-heavy, which is essential when preparing for a fighter like Paul, who blends traditional boxing skills with unconventional movement. Meanwhile, Jake Paul's training approach for his upcoming clash with Joshua has also sparked major discussion among fans and analysts. Sources indicate Paul has enlisted trainer Don Charles, known for his work with Daniel Dubois. This move caught attention because Dubois, a powerful heavyweight, previously trained under Charles and even recorded a knockout over Joshua. The choice adds both strategic and symbolic weight, signaling Paul's intent to adopt lessons from someone familiar with top-level heavyweights. Analyst Wade notes there's also speculation Paul might reach out to Ben Davison, Joshua's former trainer. Davidson's departure left him unattached, and his potential involvement with Paul's camp would add another interesting twist to the lead-up to this highly anticipated fight.
As well, I think Josh Taylor as well. So that would be a guy that's potentially being brought in to work with Jake, but I don't know that Ben Davison would do that. I don't know if just as AJ leaves to go train with, and this is why I say Ben Davison, AJ has left to go and train with Usyk's team. Left Ben Davison, go train with Usyk's team. I don't know, because their relationship is so good, I don't know that Ben Davison would just turncoat on AJ and help somebody prepare for him. Don't think that would happen, unless it was like a Tyson Fury who he already had a relationship with. So that leaves another individual. That leaves Mr. Don Charles. Don Charles British boxing trainer, known for coaching Derek Chisora, but also known for coaching one Daniel Dubois, who just so happened, as you see here in this little very small picture down on the right side here, just so happened to, as of earlier this year, absolutely chin and stop AJ in dramatic, epic fashion in AJ's triumphant return after AJ stopped Francis Ngannou and had all his confidence back and was fighting for a world title, and Daniel Dubois said, "No, sir, not tonight." If this is true, it makes things very interesting. Don Charles was in a pretty much chaotic camp. You guys remember with Daniel Dubois, it was like Daniel Dubois' dad was also kind of training him, which was an issue with Shane McGuigan when he was there. And then Don Charles came in and it was chaos in the corner, and Don was trying to coach and couldn't really do it. And a lot of people thought that Don didn't get his fair shake when it came to Daniel Dubois and got a lot of the blame for Dubois losing to Usyk just a couple of months ago. But he is a very good trainer and a guy that just worked on a game plan to beat Anthony Joshua. Now again, Daniel Dubois is also 6'4" and 250 pounds with a crazy reach. So you can't teach Jake Paul that. What will Don Charles teach to Jake if that's the
Debates continue around Paul's choice of trainers. Podcast host Henry emphasizes the physical realities of the matchup. He notes that Jake Paul weighs approximately 227 pounds, while Anthony Joshua tips the scales around 245 pounds. On paper, that 18 to 20 pounds difference might not seem overwhelming. However, Henry stresses that the fight isn't just about weight. The key disparities lie in stamina, experience, endurance, height, and overall ring intelligence. Joshua's height advantage and extensive experience in high-pressure bouts give him conditioning and composure that Paul hasn't yet needed to develop. Going deep into fights with world-class opponents has prepared Joshua in ways that raw numbers alone cannot capture.
Whatever, and I'll still be able to go and fight MMA fighters and all that sort of thing. I think he well knows that he could lose against someone much worse than Joshua, so why not just do it? At the same time, yeah, it's entirely possible he also thinks he could genuinely put a dent in Joshua and win this fight, which is mad. The other factors are the circumstances of the fight. You know, it's an 8-rounder, so Jake may even be thinking, well, maybe I can out-jab him for a round and run around. I'm quicker than him, potentially. Maybe my gas tank is better than his. Potentially, I can do this for 8 rounds. I'm going to say now I don't think his gas tank is better than AJ's, and there's another reason why that's definitely not going to be the case, in my opinion. But Jake might be telling himself this. Or worst-case scenario, I am getting hurt. He is winning the fight, but I can run around for 8 rounds, make AJ look silly. I can frustrate him, get through it on a points loss, which would be a giant win for Jake, and a massive, massive loss for AJ if he just won this fight on points. The other thing is the fact that they're putting in a weight clause in this fight. So there is a maximum weight limit for the fight. Apparently, Anthony Joshua can't weigh more than 245 pounds. And just to give you context for what that means, Anthony Joshua's previous weights, Daniel Dubois, he was 252 and a quarter, Francis Ngannou 252 and a half, Wallen 251, Helenius 250, Franklin 255, and then the Usyk fights, he was in the 240, so 240 and 244 and a half. Basically, it's a weight that Anthony Joshua hasn't been in 3 years. But also, Anthony Joshua, as a heavyweight, has never had to cut weight. So even if he is in the 250s, let's say he's the same weight as Ngannou, it's a 7-pound water cut, which isn't really much when you're a man as big as Anthony Joshua, if indeed that's what he decides to do, rather than just taking the weight off anyway. And if he does decide to take the weight off anyway, what we'll see is someone who's got better stamina. But again, I think this gives Jake Paul confidence. He thinks, well, I'll come in probably around about 220. He was 227 when he fought Mike Tyson, so he'll probably be thinking, well, it might only be a 20-pound weight difference, which is not insurmountable. I'm talking as if I'm Jake Paul right now, just to reiterate. And if he does decide to cut water weight, which maybe they know Joshua's pretty big right now because he's not been fighting for a while. I think he's been in some sort of training camp. But another factor is Joshua's coming off the back of an elbow surgery. He had an issue from.
Johnny Nelson weighs in on the matchup, asserting that Paul is taking a major risk by agreeing to this fight. He believes the danger far exceeds any potential reward, calling it one of the most questionable decisions in Paul's boxing journey. Nelson explains that facing a fighter of Joshua's caliber isn't just ambitious, it's exceptionally risky. According to Nelson, Paul could have continued facing opponents closer to his experience level, gradually working his way up to bigger names. Instead, he's chosen to face one of the most physically imposing heavyweights of the modern era. Joshua's combination of speed, power, precision, and elite-level experience means that even a single misstep by Paul could end the fight instantly.
and Jake Paul, you know what? There's still something inside of me, that just tells me it's not going to happen. And I don't know why. I don't know why, because all the press and the money's been spent on building this up. I'm like, there's something inside me thinking, this ain't going to happen, even to the point where Jake Paul's hired Don Charles to be his coach or assistant coach or be involved in the team. You know, so he's making all the moves, and I just thought, if there's not a fix, if there's not some kind of settlement, this, and it is legit, as I say it is, he's 10-ounce gloves over 8 rounds. It baffles me why Jake Paul would do it unless he's cashing out. I said it last week, I'll say it next week. I just think, is this gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? I just don't know, I'm struggling.
Ariel Helwani adds his perspective, pointing out how unprecedented Paul's choice really is. He notes that Paul has never faced an opponent close to Joshua's size. Most of Paul's previous fights have been against smaller or similarly sized fighters, often coming from lighter weight classes or other sports. Stepping into the ring with someone as massive and technically skilled as Joshua represents a completely new challenge for Paul. Helwani emphasizes that this isn't just about weight, it's about the overall presence and pressure a top-tier heavyweight brings. When Joshua lands his first punch, Paul will quickly experience the difference between exchanges at a cruiserweight level and those at the heavyweight level.
Joshua's a legitimate heavyweight, and the people he's been fighting are not, none of them are 1/10 of what this man is as a fighter. His opponent in this fight, I don't know what your opinion is on this, but I am genuinely curious, because even while I think a heavyweight has a chance in any fight, a puncher's chance, I don't think Jake Paul has anything for Anthony Joshua.
Do you respect him for taking it?
Yeah, you have to, because that's terrifying. Like that, look, I understand that Jake Paul is ranked in cruiserweight, but there are weight classes for a reason, and this is a man that I thought was going to be the guy who knocked off Fury and Deontay Wilder, and a lot of people thought that. A lot of people thought he was going to be undisputed.
Two-time unified heavyweight champion, Olympic gold medalist in 2012. His last fight was for the title against Daniel Dubois and got knocked out. That was his last fight. So it's not like he's washed up. It's not like he's fighting bums and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I get annoyed at the people who are doing like the sanctimonious thing, that this is a stain on AJ's legacy, that this is a stain on the sport of boxing, because you often hear that from people who actually don't watch boxing, don't know anything about AJ, don't know anything about the sport, and it's like, save me the sanctimony, because as you probably know, boxing has been doing fights like this for decades. In 1976, Muhammad Ali, who was the heavyweight champion of the world, went to Japan and fought a guy named Antonio Inoki in a mixed rules pro wrestling match. In 1975, after the Rumble in the Jungle, George Foreman, after losing to Ali, went to Toronto, Maple Leaf Gardens on a Saturday afternoon and fought 5 jobbers. Like, this stuff happens, and so I don't think this is... Wait, what? Yeah, he fought 5 people on the same day.
The discussion heats up further as Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver, and Liam Cameron weigh in on the potential outcome, suggesting that a Paul victory over Joshua would be a major shock to the sport. They argue that if Paul managed to pull off such an upset, it would go down as one of the most surprising moments in boxing history. Joshua has spent years building a decorated career, defeating world champions, winning titles, and establishing himself as a pillar of the heavyweight division. Paul, in contrast, only started boxing a few years ago and has mostly competed against fighters outside the traditional heavyweight ranks. Jordan emphasizes that a Paul win wouldn't just be unexpected, it would be seismic. Oliver adds that hardcore boxing fans would find it difficult to reconcile such a result, as it would upend the usual narrative of skill development, experience, and legitimacy in the sport.
He's more athletic, he's got more movement and whatnot. And no disrespect to Jake Paul here, you go without looking past Jake Paul, but he could look past Jake Paul, because, when you're talking about comparisons, these two guys are worlds apart. You have to respect Jake Paul for stepping up to the plate and actually going through with this fight, because I'm still trying to give my head a wobble on this whole situation. Going, what are you actually doing?
I respect Jake Paul for what he's done. I never thought that you'd talk like this about boxing, but we do. I respect Jake Paul because he's come over to another industry. He's made the other industry make him a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And he's actually helping a lot of female fighters and women boxing as well by putting his promotion on. So I respect him massively. But if Anthony Joshua was to lose to Jake Paul,
it would be the biggest upset, travesty, whatever you want to call it, in boxing history. So he has to look past Jake Paul.
Well, let's hear from Anthony talking to the media in Miami. One of the questions that was put to him was about his lengthy stint outside of the ring.
So I took 12 months out of the game, realigned my vision board, and consolidated a lot of things, trimmed down my team. And I said I need 12 months to do that, so I took 12 months out of the game. We was moving at 100 miles an hour with my blinkers on. So then I took my blinkers off, looked at the landscape, and I just changed a lot of things in my life. It took a bit of time, but I said I need 12 months, and now we're here. So 12 months out of the game, and from September 21st, if you think about it back then, to now, December, that's 3 months. So most people take about 8 to 12 weeks to prepare for a fight. So this was like a preparation for a fight, basically. So this will be my first prep and fight in December. So no, I won't be trained by Ben Davison. I said that London's a bit distracting for me. So I was invited to train with Team Usyk. So I've been in Spain. We've been doing some good training out in Spain. And I think he's one of the best in the world. Not I think, he is.
Meanwhile, hosts from the Strawberry Park podcast offer a different angle, focusing on Jake Paul's personality and public image. They note that Paul has deliberately crafted a persona designed to draw attention whether fans are supporting him or hoping to see him fail. According to the hosts, Paul understands that controversy generates interest, and being a polarizing figure only increases viewership. He has positioned himself as someone people love to root against, which explains why each of his fights draws massive audiences. In the case of the Joshua matchup, they argue fans will tune in not only because the fight itself is compelling, but also because many are curious to see how Paul fares against a true heavyweight. Paul's approach of generating hype through controversy has been effective in the past, and the hosts believe it will boost interest for this fight even further.
Haters and the lovers are gonna watch because the haters want to like hate watch and shit.
I think Jake Paul purposely wants people to hate him because they're gonna buy the fight.
I think that's been his whole stick, right? Like his whole career.
If you watch Jake Paul on a podcast for an hour and a half, I feel like he's a very likable person. He's very chill and just like a nice guy. But turns it up, the trolling, so that people can be like, yeah, that guy. That way they can be tuning in and talking about his fight.
He knows what he's doing.
And it doesn't truly matter if you're living in your $32 million house in Puerto Rico. Like, who cares?
They're characters.
What anybody says.
Yes. They master the characters that work for them.
I think if you're someone who's like, I hate Jake Paul, I think you're a sheep, because that's exactly what he wants, and you're gonna watch the fight and tune in and make your little tweet, and it's gonna get him more money. It's like you're on a completely different wavelength. It's like you're a shrimp and he's a shark.
Yeah, it's like going to a WWE match and watching the guy come out that everyone hates and everyone's like, boo, boo. That's the script. He's supposed to be that guy or whatever. That's all part of it.
It's like, have you ever met this person in real life? Well, no, but I hate him. Well, what did they say that makes you hate them? Well, just the stuff, the clips that you see. Like, yeah, I might see someone, they might say something that I'm like, okay, I don't agree with that. But I don't holistically hate that person. I don't know. I see, and also the people who, oh, it's rigged, whatever. I know that there's plenty of rigging in sports at all times. So I can't definitively say what I think is rigged or what isn't, because I'm not in there playing. So I really don't know. But the boxing, I never thought that the boxing, like, you see, he knocked him out here, and then he gave him a signal.
He gave him a signal. This, I'm like, dude, stuff happens so fast.
I'm like,
they weren't thinking about it.
I'm like, dude, I think that you're reaching a little bit with the rig thing.
And it seems like everything they've done is like grand.
BJ Flores, a former trainer of Paul, shares his perspective of the mindset behind Paul's decision. Flores explains that Paul wants to demonstrate he can compete with legitimate professional boxers, not just celebrities or crossover opponents. This fight represents Paul stepping into much deeper waters, serving as the ultimate test of his abilities. Flores points out that the issue isn't Paul's ambition, it's the timing. He believes this challenge comes too early in Paul's development. While striving to prove oneself is commendable, Flores warns that attempting to fast-track his career could backfire. Facing someone of Joshua's caliber before fully mastering advanced ring fundamentals could turn a learning experience into a harsh reality check. He acknowledges Paul's dedication and work ethic, but stresses that the gap in experience is simply too large at this stage.
Very tough fight, and to anybody in the industry, Anthony Joshua is a world champion, a gold medalist. This is a big difference from, anybody else that, Jake's fought in the past. But, he's looking for these big challenges. He wants to fight the toughest guys. And I think with Anthony Joshua, he got exactly that. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a guy I would have never dreamed in a million years Jake would have fought him in his 5th year boxing in a fight situation like this. I thought he would have given it a little more time. But, I mean, this is an extremely difficult fight. Anthony Joshua is 6'6", 245 pounds, extremely dangerous, gold medalist, world champion, and I think this is a very, very difficult fight for Jake. So I wouldn't have made this fight. No.
What do you give it in terms of percentage-wise? Like 60% AJ wins, 40% Jake Paul wins, or 50-50, 70-30? How do you give it?
Well, I mean, you got to go up when you go off the resumes. That's what I go off of. A lot of people will say potential, like, oh, this could happen, this could happen. I only go off like who's beaten who. So if you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like Jake has any chance on paper, but I think that's probably why he wanted to make this fight. And like I said, I'm not in the camp, so I don't know all the conversations that are going on in camp Jake Paul right now. But on paper, this looks like an extremely difficult fight. And any boxing experts, that I've talked to, whether it's former fighters or whoever, they don't give Jake any chance at all. I'm not saying he doesn't have any chance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, everybody in the know-how as far as the boxing world, they're like, Jake has zero chance to win this fight. And, it is on paper, though. It does seem like it's early. And it does, seem like
That wraps up today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates, and we'll see you next time.